Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats, talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Today, we continue. Winter is blooming. Another season is upon us. Season 5. Today is Season 5, Episode 1, titled The Wars to Come. Written by David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, D&D. Directed by Michael Slovis. I am Colton Robertson, and I am joined by Joseph George. What's up, homie?
Oh, what up, what up? Always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. Game of Thrones, baby. Mm-hmm. It's back. It's been a couple weeks since we actually, release-wise, it doesn't feel like that to everybody listening, but it's been a couple weeks since we've discussed Game of Thrones. We kind of built up the episodes so that we could get a head start on our top 100 favorite movies project, and some other things. And it's nice to be back. I like it. I like it being this consistent thing we return to, okay, we're doing all this. Let's come back to Game of Thrones, and, this was just another nice little comfortable episode, if not horrific in many, many aspects.
Oh yeah. No, it's always nice to come back, and it's, I always have the same feeling. Like, I'll forget about it for a little bit, and then I'll come back, watch the episode, and be like, man, I really forget how good this show is sometimes.
Exactly.
And even though,
this is a relatively weak episode of the show, and it's still damn good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's only a little disappointing on the Game of Thrones scale. As far as TV goes, this is what more could you really ask for?
Yeah, exactly. It's just we're coming off of the end. It's the season premiere, and this is always what happens. Season 4 or the end of a season comes to a head, and it just blows your fucking mind. And then we're back to the beginning, and we got to start a little bit. They're going to ease us in. And I'm happy with it, though. I'm happy with it. A lot of stuff you can do with this episode. And if you're ready, I'd like to take us through a few locations.
Yeah, I think we're ready. It's starting
with
a flashback even.
Yeah, we're starting 25 years ago.
Which is kind of funny. I was just reading the trivia on this episode, and apparently in D&D, they set 3 rules for the show. No dreams, no prophecies, no flashbacks.
That's hilarious.
And apparently because
that is broken.
Yeah. Apparently the pilot they had that's unaired had a bunch of them, and they were like, okay, too much. We got to just not do any of that. And then boom. I guess this is the first flashback until then, though, which is kind of crazy to think about if I'm DD.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I think the only times we start to do flashbacks going forward is with Bran. So
and that's not even. Is that
not
really
flashback?
A flashback?
He's literally seeing.
It's just part of the story. Yeah, it's I guess it kind of. I mean, it's both. But
yeah, no, that's interesting.
It is weird to think that there haven't been any flashbacks at all until.
No, that's true. Now. But there's been they broke the prophecy and dream stuff a while ago.
Yeah. I was gonna say I don't know about.
There's
those
a dream at the end of season 1. It's pretty end of season 2. Pretty notable. Pretty notable stuff there. But I enjoyed this flashback mostly because it just gives us a lot to chew on. As speculators, trying to be like, oh, what does this mean? What does this mean? And it's pretty clear what it means, and it comes to fruition quite succinctly. But a young Cersei Lannister and her weary tag-along Melara Heatherspoon are creeping through the woods of the Westerlands. And Melara doesn't want to continue, but young Cersei eggs her on, taunting her, calling her a pussy, and being an all-out terrible little child. They reach a hut within the woods, which belongs to a woods witch named Maggie. And unafraid, Cersei walks in first, Upon meeting this so-called witch, Cersei demands to have her future read. You are a witch. You can see my future. Tell me what you see. Maggie's like, yeah, everybody wants to see their future until they've seen their future. And
fair point.
Cersei's like, I don't give a fuck. I will have your eyes gouged out.
Do you know who I am?
Like,
you know who my dad is?
Yeah.
Come on, this is
you are living
land.
upon my father's land, my land.
Yeah.
And Maggie's like, okay, fine, shit. You're gonna have 3 kids, and they're all gonna die.
Yeah, no, a flashback and a prophecy, kind of, I guess, in one scene right here.
Yeah.
So,
but she says, I'll need I'll need a drop of Cersei's blood. So Cersei pricks her finger on a dagger. Maggie tastes her blood and offers the young girls 3 questions. And Cersei's first question is if she will marry the prince. Maggie says, no, you will marry the king. She's like, oh, okay, cool. That's dope with me. I'm cool with that. She then asks if she and the king will have children. She says, the king will have 20 children. You will have 3. She's like, I don't get that one fucking bit. She's like, you wouldn't, but it'll happen.
So Rob had 20 kids. There's 20 little,
yeah, I mean, we saw a bunch of bastards. We've seen a lot of bastards get killed.
I called him Rob.
Robert.
Yeah, but just Rob Stark. It would be I don't know. That's the Rob. I knew. I'm like, wait a minute, that didn't sound right at first whenever I just said Rob. But yeah, I guess 20. I don't know. It seems she got everything else right in the this
seems like that would be relatively accurate. Big Bobby Baratheon got around, to be sure.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Surprised that's it, actually. Only
20 is kind of like, for the amount of whoring around he was doing, it's kind of impressive that only 20 children were sired, which is kind of, absurd. Already that 20 seems like a low ball.
Never mind, that is kind of a lot now that
20 is a ton, but the fact that it still feels like a low ball is kind of crazy. But she says you'll have 3 children. Gold will be their crowns, and gold will be their burial shrouds. And she's like, your kids are gonna die. And finally, she tells Cersei that her reign will not last. She will be queen, but eventually, a younger and more beautiful queen is fated to take her place, along with everything she holds dear. And obviously, at present, she's worried about Marjorie Tyrell, but this is not about Marjorie Tyrell. This is about Daenerys Targaryen, because Cersei hasn't even technically been the queen yet. She's been the queen, but she's been the queen. She's been the wife of the king and the mother of the king. She will become the queen, period. And the first one to unseat her is Daenerys, regardless of how short-lived that is.
Was kind of like a Cersei villain arc. Like, I don't know, is like what I kind of took this flashback as. It's just like, not really villain arc, but just kind of like reasonings why she's so paranoid and so just meticulous about everything.
Yeah, man, she's like, I talked to this witch once. One of my kids is already dead. I gotta protect the other 2 with my fucking life, dog.
Yeah. Yeesh. I mean, obviously I remember how Tommen died, but how does Marcella die?
She gets poisoned.
Oh, that's right, by a kiss, right? Yeah. Oh man. Okay.
Yeah, because as revenge for Oberyn's death.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now it all comes full circle. But all 3 of them. Yeah, and before Cersei goes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I'm like, obviously Joffrey and Tommen window. Joffrey, obvious.
Poisoned
like,
also.
I was trying to remember. I'm like, is Marcella just enduring the whole time, or like, do we ever?
She dies in Jaime's arms.
Ooh.
After Jaime tells her that, I'm your dad, and she's like, yeah, I know, and that's cool. But then she dies. So it's a real heartbreaking one, that one for Marcella, because she was just so fucking sweet. But we will get there. I'm assuming that's this season. It can't be far off. I think it's season 4, Joffrey dies. Season 5, Marcella dies. Season 6, Tommen dies. So it's kind of,
just one of per season. You know, it's kind of like they just have one king die every season.
Exactly.
Pretty much. Just one Lannister kid will go.
Just every single season, a Lannister dies. Someone close to Cersei. But in the present, in King's Landing, Cersei arrives at the Great Sept of Baelor to pay respect to her deceased father. And once inside the Sept, she chastises her brother Jaime for freeing their brother Tyrion and indirectly causing their father's death. And at Tywin's wake, Cersei is approached by Lancel Lannister, who has become a devout member of the Sparrows, a religious cult, and asks Cersei for forgiveness for having a incestuous affair, as well as getting her husband Robert obscenely drunk on the day he died. And Cersei's like, okay, pussy, I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, cool. Yeah. Dope, forgiven.
And I'll pray for your father's soul. She's like, all right, yeah, the day my father's soul needs help or whatever, and like, just all right, and like, just giving nobody any inch of room at all. Like Loras, is trying to be like, hey, like, yeah, your father, like, what a guy, like, what a force to be reckoned with, or just trying to say anything he can. So she's like, all right, thanks for the nice words. Just walks out like out. She's so
she's just tired of all this shit.
Yeah, yeah. Just sick of it. But yeah, poor Jaime in there, just like looking at his dad, like just like oh man, like
hard to say that this isn't my fault, huh?
Yeah, like he's already kicking himself. You gotta know. And then Cersei comes in like, you piece of shit, it's all your fault. Like he's like, god damn, like, but yeah, I don't know. Cersei is I don't know this.
Yeah.
Like, even telling the people outside.
It's really escalating now for her,
Yeah. She's coming into her own, that's for sure.
As the Mad Queen. But while in bed together, next up, Loras and the male prostitute Oliver contemplate a birthmark on Loras's thigh, which looks a little like Dorne. And Marjorie walks in on them, complains about his lack of discretion, and sends Oliver away. And Loras retorts that since his sexuality is an open secret anyway, everyone knows and nobody says anything and nothing happens, so why not I just do this shit? There isn't much point in discretion. And he also opines that as Tywin is dead, no one will force Cersei to marry him anymore. So, dub, victory, love that for him. And he points out this will leave Cersei in King's Landing free to harass Marjorie. And Marjorie's like, yeah, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah.
See about it.
Word perhaps. I don't know. It was used by Marjorie and Varys in this episode. I don't know why.
Perhaps.
It was and it seemed to draw attention to it, which is very interesting. I don't know. It's just their way of just being like, well, you never know what can happen in the show.
Yeah.
Anyone can die at any time.
I think after the first little flashback, they're really trying to tease the Marjorie will be the demise of Cersei.
Ah, okay.
Instead of the long-term Daenerys. So like her being like, perhaps is like, I think the first time you watch is kind of like, oh, what's Marjorie about to try to do? Like, because for the first time ever in the show, I never really considered that the Lannisters are kind of fair game because Tywin is dead. Like,
yeah.
You can try and pull some shit on the Lannisters because they don't have their dad to protect them anymore. So like, if you want Cersei dead, it's never been easier to get Cersei dead. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I mean, on rewatch, I'm just like, oh, I just know where Daenerys' story goes. So in my head, I'm just like, yeah, obviously the witch is talking about Daenerys, but on first watch, you're definitely thinking Marjorie. Like
Marjorie's got some shit cooking because you're watching everybody descend into like. You're seeing just how far they will go to get what they want or get what they deserve. And, Marjorie, we've seen her be really nice, but we've seen her be very cunning. So, like, you're kind of like, maybe she's about to do something. She doesn't. She's too kind. But regardless, it was a nice little writing choice to make it feel like she might be on to something. But that concludes the story in King's Landing. And we're going to head to Pentos thereafter. Which is just a wonderful scene between Tyrion and Varys. Yeah. Tyrion arrives in Pentos with the aid of Varys, who lets him out of the crate he'd been hiding in for the entire journey. And he's like, yeah, you know what it's like to shit all over yourself and push it out of a little hole? He's like, nope, I just know what it's like to pick your shit up and throw it overboard.
They had so many good lines here. Like, I mean, I mean, there's a lot like stronger lines for the episode. This was just like a funny scene, like between the two, and I love how it even opened too, like just the shot through the little air hole, and like it just slowly like making its way, and then like you see Tyrion's like fingers like go over it. I don't know, it was like just really cool. Like this scene, like it's just Varys and Tyrion talking, like Varys just trying to be like, yeah, don't die, like come on, you're better than this, and that's all it pretty much was. But I don't know, I think. Just a beautiful location, and then I don't know, just two of my favorite characters just talking it out. I love this scene.
This is one of those times where I'd be interested to see how much this was potentially visually augmented. Like, it looks like it could be a very real location, but there's also this, like, this place could very well exist on Earth. That would just melt my mind to know that this place is out there somewhere. Like, this is fucking gorgeous. You know what I'm saying?
It probably is. I mean, that's just, I don't know, the U.S., we just don't have places like that here. It's just all in Europe and Asia and everywhere else, not here. But yeah, I'd say it looks pretty real, looking at the pictures of it now. Yeah. I mean, usually, they're pretty good about shooting on location.
They are.
But even when not, you have no idea of really knowing when it's not. But yeah, I don't know. I had some lines from these scenes that were maybe lines.
This is really strong, you know, and it's also just like a really exciting scene. But before we get to the beef of it, Varys tells Tyrion that he and Illyrio had worked together in secret to restore House Targaryen to the rule of Westeros, but that their errors have left them in Pentos, unable to return to King's Landing. And Tyrion has descended into bitterness and self-loathing and drunkenness, and he's basically ready to die. But Varys angrily snaps himself out of self-pity, telling Tyrion that he has talents that may yet be of use, talents that he could use to seat the right candidate on the Iron Throne. And Varys states that Westeros is mired in chaos and on the brink of ruin. The Seven Kingdoms require a ruler, one stronger than Tommen, yet gentler than Stannis, beloved by the people, able to please the common folk and keep the nobility in line. And, you know, like, I remember watching this for the first time and being like, oh yeah, where you going, Varys? Where you going, Varys? Tell me, talk to me, baby. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay. But then, you know, Tyrion retorts that such a man does not exist. And then Varys goes, who said anything about a man? And I was like, fuck yeah, baby!
Let's go. Yeah. That it was, I don't know. There's so many, like, that was just so hype. Like, I'm on this rewatch, I'm like, oh, it's obviously Daenerys. You know, like, he's just talking about Daenerys straight up here.
The first time you watch this, it's like, oh shit, Tyrion and Varys are gonna join Daenerys' side. Like, that's hard as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, you know, like, we were saying how it's like a little, like a disappointing, like, season premiere, a little bit, like, for the show. But, like, as far as, like, something like this, like, it's just planting the seed of, like, where Tyrion and Varys are gonna go. And, like, we'll see them slowly get closer and closer to Daenerys over the season. And, like, I think that's kind of what I mean, what any season premiere does, is just kind of plant the seeds for the rest of the season. But, like, this scene in specific was one, even on rewatch, that I'm like, okay, like, I'm in on this story. Like, I want to see all this stuff.
Well, and this story is a really good example of something that season 5, and you could argue season 6, are like the last time we spend extended periods of time with our characters where they're going to do something, but they're not doing much, you know? Tyrion's entire season 5 is getting to Meereen. His entire, and it obviously, like, takes its turns that make it very compelling, but, like, you don't get to the goal of what he's doing until the end of season 5 and maybe even the beginning of season 6. Like, let's see. Yeah, I think it's the end of season 5, though.
In Pentos, Volantis by episode 3. He's in, let's see, she's in Meereen, so he gets to Meereen in episode 8, Hardhome.
Yeah.
Of this season, and then just stays there from then on out. So yeah, it takes a while for him to get there.
Yeah, he goes on fights in, like, the slave pits, which we get a little allusion to.
Wow.
Yeah, like that. They really tie that like all those threads open in this premiere really succinctly.
Yeah.
But regardless, Varys offers Tyrion the choice of either drinking himself to death in Pentos or traveling with him to Meereen and meeting Daenerys Targaryen. And Tyrion asks, "Can I drink myself to death on the road to Meereen?"
Yeah. Yeah, like the lines I put in here, I just wanted to I put them down just so I'd remember them, just because I thought they were hilarious, but not what I'm actually going with. But Tyrion, at one point, I forgot in the conversation, he just, Varys is trying to butter him up, and then Tyrion's just like, the future is shit, just like the past, and then he just leans over, throws up all of his wine, and then starts to chug again. I'm like, oh my god, yeah, this dude is he's just going through it right now.
He's in the fucking trenches. He is not having a good time.
And then there was like a transition back to the scene, because like half of it was at one part, and then it went somewhere else, and then it came back. Just Varys is walking up to Tyrion, and then Tyrion just goes, "Eunuch, the spider, master of whisperers," and then Varys just responds, "Imp, half man," and then like Tyrion just raises his glass, like, "All right, touche,"
Yeah,
touche,
you know
whatever.
what? We on
like,
this shit, aren't we? Yeah,
like
quite the pair we make, huh?
Yeah. I think we'll get there eventually, but I think there's one scene and one just, I don't know, kind of sweeped this whole episode.
Yeah, it absolutely did for me. So, I have all four of my favorites are at the wall later on.
Yeah, mine are too. So, yeah, the wall has a clean sweep this episode.
It was like, we're getting to the fucking... This is the season when the wall is looking fucking good, buddy. Like, it's a different level for the Night's Watch in season 5, even though the end of season 4 was already, like, it started heading there with Jon Snow. But season 5 is when you're like, okay, Jon is my man's. But in Meereen, the Unsullied topple the large golden harpy from the top of the Great Pyramid in Meereen to show the Meereenese people that they're under Targaryen rule now, and their old traditions are gone. And this is a bold move.
Yeah.
Mostly because I believe this is just a religious deity. I don't think it was necessarily representative of the old masters. I'm pretty sure it's
she's just like, I'm your religion now, I guess, is what she's kind of saying.
I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Yeah, because like it is just like a winged.
It's a harpy. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's not a ruler, unless maybe their previous ruler
instituted the harpy as the
their
god.
Symbol.
Like,
I'm not sure. Yeah, I didn't really think about it like that.
No, I thought it was
falling down though.
Oh no, super hard. But, and that's the thing is that I think that I respect her goals in kind of wiping clean the previous culture of Meereen and like the slavers culture. But there are certain things that I feel like you can't necessarily erase, and I feel like religion is one of those things. Like you can't necessarily go, you can't worship this god anymore. I rule.
It's like if I'm trying to think of an equivalent, like real world equivalent of
it'd be like
ancient Egypt, like the Sphinx, if it had like some head on before, and then like they're just like, nah, chop that off, put a human head on it now. Like it's
it'd be like if some
or like a cathedral, and they just took
some
down the cross at the very top of it or something like that.
Some leader heads to Brazil and takes down Christ the Redeemer. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
that's true. That might be the closest one there.
And it's like I don't know what the harpy religion was all about, and I know that I don't fuck with the sons of the harpy as we see here before long. So like but there are religious extremists in every religion. So like I don't know if the sons of the harpy are like just the very, very extreme of their religion.
They said they've never killed before, before this was like their first killing. So like they probably were just a normal religious group before then, and they're like, damn, they took down our literal symbol, the one thing we had at the top of the pyramid. Like, all right, fuck this. And Yeah,
I don't know.
I've never really thought about the implications of like doing that. I just saw the shot and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess she's here now, and like she just is remodeling.
And of course, that is something that it would be interesting to kind of delve into, is whether or not the harpy, I'm fairly certain, is a religious symbol. So like,
yeah, I mean that makes sense. I'd probably see,
or maybe it was just I'm not sure.
Yeah, as a mythical creature in Essos whose likeness is used as the symbol of the Gishari Empire. I guess it's just kind of a symbol of their empire, I guess.
Okay, if it's a symbol of an empire, then you can get away with it. I just kind of assumed it was a religious symbol. So,
and at the top of a pyramid, yeah, I guess I don't know.
Yeah, if it represents the previous ruling class, then yeah, fuck yeah, tear it down. I don't care. Mm-hmm. But one of the Unsullied we see during this, White Rat, as we learn he is called, is seen walking into a brothel and pays a prostitute to lie with him and comfort him, which is just so fucking sad, man. Like, yeah. I was devastated to see this, and then to know that in this state of vulnerability, someone walks in and slashes his throat is that's even worse. You know, it was already sad.
I guess he's having some peace before, you know, yeah. Like it's what he's going in there for, and like, so is this the most humane way to go? I mean, he's still killing somebody, so you know, there's no real humane way to go about that. But like,
hey, but an Unsullied dog, an Unsullied, if they're gonna die, they want to die fighting. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to go. They don't want to go lying down.
God, yeah, and like just focusing on his face for like, I don't know, just the shot of him just bleeding out, like, lingered for a second there. And I'm like, oh my God, like, just brutal.
Brutal shit. But, yeah, this is our first encounter with the Sons of the Harpy, a resistance group here in Marine. And upon being presented with the murderer's mask left at the scene, Daenerys orders Grey Worm to find those responsible and for the murdered soldier to be buried in the Temple of the Graces as a statement. And then we see Hizdar Zo-Loraq and Daario Naharis return to Meereen and declare that their mission to Yunkai has been an overwhelming success and that the Wise Masters will turn over power to a council of former slaves and former slave owners alike. In exchange, nothing in exchange, says Daenerys.
Yeah. I'm the queen. I'm not a politician. Yeah, she's like, I'm not a politician.
That was almost one of my lines.
Yeah, that was pretty hard.
I'm not a politician. Yeah. I'm a queen.
And just, I love how, oh my God, I'm blanking. Badass sword.
Barristan?
Yeah, sell me. Yeah, it's just standing in the background. Just, it has no lines, but he's just like
giggling. You know, he's like
gives some nods, gives some like, all right, yeah, that's fucking right. I don't know, just that's just all he's kind of there for this episode, which I loved, but. Yeah, that was a hard line. I know, was pretty close, but
yeah, he says in exchange, the Wise Masters have asked that Daenerys consent to reopening the fighting pits, an arena where slaves used to fight to the death. And Daenerys denies the request. Like, no, that's fucking stupid. That's ridiculous. Why would we do that? And then later on, when she's been fucking Daario, Daario convinces her, you know, she's like, I can't believe they want me to reopen the fighting pits. And Daario's like, you should. And she's like, what? And he's like, hey man, look at where I'm at. You know where I started? You know, like I started in the fighting pits. That was the shit, you know? It gave him the skills necessary for him to join the Second Sons, where he met Daenerys. And she's like, he throws out one of those lines where it's like, you're not the queen, like you're the mother of dragons, you know, like let's get this shit rolling. And he's like, yeah, and she's like, yeah, but I don't know where my dragons are.
Like he did kind of throw in a line of like, you know, you are the mother of dragons, but you know, a queen without dragons is no queen, or something like that, he said. And I was kind of like, oh, it's a little, I mean, she could still, you know, if she didn't have her dragons, like, she's doing pretty well, like, just ideologically, I guess.
The Dragon Queen.
But
a dragon queen with no dragons is hardly a queen. You know, like
yeah.
Once you become known as one, it feels
I guess that's
vulnerable
true.
without the other. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Drogon hasn't been seen in weeks, and
Dude's just out eating.
bro's just vibing.
Yep.
Traveling the countryside, going, finding what's west of Westeros. You know, I like to think that during this time, he's heading to like the doomed lands of Valyria, and kind of just like vibing out with everybody, being like, "Yo, what's up, Stone Man? How y'all doing?"
Yeah, he's we could have a whole spinoff of just
he's
where
discovering,
Drogon was.
he's
not
discovering the rituals in which will be necessary for him to later bring Daenerys' body to, so that he can revive her.
That's right.
That's just what he's doing. He's off
100%.
learning so that he can save his mom.
Yeah, being a good boy. He's just
he's
out there being a good boy.
He's just being a good son.
Only eating a few people and animals, and
that's all. Just
he's got to grow somehow.
Yeah, survival of the fittest. You know, it's the food chain. What are you gonna do? But later on, Daenerys attempts to visit Viserion and Rhaegal, whom she locked underground in the Myronese catacombs to prevent them from killing people. And when she approaches them, they attempt to attack her, forcing her to briskly escape the room. And you locked them up, and they do not forgive you. Not yet.
I believe this was the first mention of Viserion and Rhaegal as well on screen. I think I might have read that in the
first time they get their names.
First time on screen that it said.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
So for a couple seasons there, for like 3
Drogon was the only one. Yeah.
We didn't
Apparently,
know their names.
Drogon was first mentioned in The Children, which was the finale of season 4. That was the first name drop of Drogon. So then now we got Viserion and Rhaegal now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Because, I mean, before, like, even Drogon, it was, like, the big one, the Black Shadow, the bit, they just kind of, like, I don't know, they just kind of refer to them as the dragons, or, not by name, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't really considered that. That's kind of bizarre. But
for some reason, I have a feeling that, like, Daenerys,
like Drogon got his name like immediately. Like whenever she's like, he's like real little, and she's like tossing him little pieces of meat, and he's like charring.
That's what like when they were little babies. Yeah,
I feel like she calls him Drogon then. Maybe I'm tripping, but that's just that's what I feel like I remember.
It's just what IMDb says in the trivia. So I guess maybe this is the first of Viserion and Rhaegal, maybe. But I feel like Drogon was earlier than the children, than literally the episode before.
That's the one that really feels wrong. Like Viserion and Rhaegal very well could just be like, this is the first time we've actually heard their names. But Drogon, I feel like it definitely happened earlier than last episode. Like, it's kind of wild. But regardless, we'll then head to the Vale of the Arryn, wherein Littlefinger and Sansa watch over Lord Robin Arryn's struggles with sparring with another young boy. Robin's just getting his shit rocked. It is not going his way.
No. Yeah.
And
not at all.
While watching him spar, Sansa witnesses Baelish receive a message in which he reads, then hides in a sleeve. All the while, Lord Jon Royce has agreed to take Robin as his ward and train him to fight, but is not optimistic of his abilities, stating he swings a sword like a girl with palsy. And though Littlefinger told Lord Royce that he and Sansa would be traveling to the Fingers, they instead head west. And Sansa asks if they have anything to fear from Lord Jon, and Littlefinger explains that he doesn't trust the retainers and soldiers who saw them, and is taking Sansa somewhere the Lannisters will never find her. It's time he marries her off to Ramsay. That's what he's taking her to go do.
Because she was supposed to marry Robin. Yeah. Right? Because that's what I was thinking. Like, she's just sitting there watching Robin, like being like, wow, this is my future husband right here, like it's just, she's just being just shipped around, and like she just never gets her own choice whatsoever. But I thought it was just funny. Like it's just her, Littlefinger, and is that Royce, the cool beard guy? Yeah. Just sitting there, just watching him train, and like I'll even like Littlefinger's like, make sure he's safe, and his training will increase exponentially by the time I come back. And Royce is like, well, yeah, he'll be safe, but can't really promise anything on the training.
Yeah,
but so they are, yeah. They just go straight to Winterfell?
I'm pretty sure that's where they head. Like, I think they go straight to Winterfell.
Guess I could check the good old map real quick. Let's see. Yeah. Yep. We're in season 5. She's in the Eyrie. Yep. Next episode, she's at Moat Cailin. Ramsay just took that over, right? Like, did the little... And then, episode 4, she's back in Winterfell. Wow, okay. That'll be nice. At least to get her back. Oh, no, not really, though. Because
everything goes everything goes from bad to worse for her.
Yeah, it's not really nice at all. Now that I think, she just has
nothing good going
life,
on.
Man. God.
But all the while, Podrick Payne is attempting to plan the next move for himself and Brienne of Tarth, but Brienne tells him that she doesn't want anyone following her. And he reminds her of the oath she swore to Jaime to find the Stark girls, but she states that Arya did not want her protection. Brienne also points out that Pod was not safe in King's Landing, and now that they are far away from the capital, he is safe and they can go their separate ways. And in the background, you watch Littlefinger and Sansa's carriage pass them, and Brienne unaware of how close she is to her goal.
Damn it. Like, even Pod's like, well, what about Sansa? Like, she could use some, like, protection, right? And, like, she's just right there. Literally, like, they see them right there. It happens with so much in the show. Like, Jon and Bran, a couple times. And now just Brienne and Sansa. I wonder, like, Sansa's probably would say yes. Now that she's with Littlefinger, I don't know.
That's the thing. I think we finally saw her get to a spot where she's in a similar place Arya was when she refused Brienne's service. Where it's like, hey man, I don't know you. I know this guy, and while I don't love him, I know that he won't hurt me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that is kind of nuts. Yeah, poor Brienne.
Brienne's trying her best, but the girls they've been jaded, like they don't trust anybody. They trust the devil they know, not the devil they don't, that's just kind of the way they roll. And there
was another Brienne, a line from Brienne that was almost close of like, all I ever wanted was to serve under a good lord or something like that. And she's like, well, all the good ones are dead and all the ones that are alive are rotten or something like that, something like that. And she's just kind of like Tyrion right now, just kind of giving up, like just kind of like, oh, what am I even doing all this for? Like, there's no point. But Podrick's just, I don't know, good old Pod, just trying to,
Pod.
Yeah, man, I don't know, maybe Brienne. Nah, I was trying to think if Pod could just show her the way, maybe one time, and maybe that'll cheer up her spirits. But I don't know. That's
perhaps another day.
Yeah, probably won't happen. But,
probably not. But
do they stick together? Like I'd have.
Pretty sure the rest of the show, Brienne and Podrick ride side by side. I'm pretty sure that's the way of things for the rest of the show. I think that they make it to Winterfell, and Stannis storms Winterfell. Brienne kills Stannis.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. Wow. Yeah, there's just that's insane. Like how just something that big, like Stannis. I forget pretty much everything that happens with Stannis.
Dude's making moves in this episode. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he felt really
crazy
kingly.
How much of a just non-factor he always was in everyone's mind. No one was ever worried Stannis would win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
no.
Even when he had the sauce, even when it looked like, oh, he absolutely could, you just went, there's no fucking way. You know what I'm saying? You were like, something will happen and he will lose.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he is making moves. He did feel kind of kingly in this episode a little bit. But even then, it's just kind of like, all right, like, you're still at the wall, you know? Like, you're still so far away from King's Landing right now. Like,
right.
And yeah, I don't know. He is just always kind of a non-factor, which is kind of sad. But, man, yeah, I forgot Brienne kills him. How do I forget that?
Yeah, no, it's a pretty. It's not like a battle or anything. He's already pretty badly beaten, and she basically puts him out of his misery by killing him. But
wow.
Regardless, we then head to the wall where the bulk of the goodies happen in this episode.
Yeah.
Where Jon is training Ollie, his eventual murderer and the murderer of the woman he loved, which he's already forgiven him for, by the way.
Yeah. You know, I kind of expected him to kind of like give a little cheap shots in there, you know, kind of like hit him in the head on purpose and like just beat him down, but he's just that
Jon
good of a guy.
Just how good of a dude he is.
Yeah, like,
you know,
God.
He's like, I can't hold it against you for killing a wildling. You did exactly what we were told to do. You
just
know,
had
like
no idea. Yeah, that was the person he loved. You know, he like, but still fuck Oliver till the day I die. I don't care. I mean, he'll hang eventually, so I'm just waiting for that point.
We'll rejoice when the day comes. But in the meantime, he's attempting to train Ollie. You know, trading some blows back and forth. Get your shield up. Get your shield up. It's so heavy. Well, you need to get it up, or else I'm gonna ring your head like a bell. He gives him that little pat on the cheek and stuff. And Jon's just like a great fucking mentor, man. He's trying his best to be a good dude. I don't know what more Ollie could possibly want. But they're interrupted by Melisandre, who's done a little bit of something with her hair, by the way, looking a little darker.
Mm-hmm. She'd have a different look to her this season.
The North agrees with Melisandre, if I say so myself.
She's not cold.
No,
you know?
No.
She's toasty.
Yeah, she's been sent to fetch Jon for an audience with Stannis, and on the ride to the top of the wall, Jon is he's not exactly comfortable with Melisandre's presence and the questions she asks. You know,
why? Why'd she ask? Why did she ask him if he was a virgin? Like, what? It came out of nowhere. Like, oh yeah, you're not. Are you cold? No, the Lord's fire lives within me. Are you a virgin, by the way?
My assessment is that she sees kingliness in him. She does, and I think that either way, if he's a virgin, it means it makes him a better sacrifice. If he's not, it makes him a good lay.
So she's just trying to.
I think she's just like, you're kind of fine. Can we fuck sometime?
I was thinking, I was trying to think of like, did she see like some vision that had, Jon and
it's her reaction to the information that he's not a virgin that makes it confusing, though.
Yeah, because
when he
she was like,
no, and she's like, good.
Yeah,
it's like if he'd have said yes, I think she'd have said good. If he'd have said no, I think she'd have said good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think she just has different things she wants to do for whatever the answer might be. If he is a virgin, we're going to burn you at the stake. You seem to have a kingliness to you.
If he's not, because was Gendry a virgin or no? Because she used, just was like, hey, I'm here right now. Let's do this thing. And then like got the leeches on him and sucked his blood. So maybe it was kind of like if you are a virgin, then I can use, I can get whatever I want from you. Maybe sort of thing. I was just kind of like, my head was spinning, but the only thing I landed at was just like, yeah, she just wants to fuck Jon. Like, who wouldn't?
I mean, like, Jon's a good looking man. She's a fine looking woman. Why not have good looking sex? I think that's kind of where they are, or where Melisandre is anyway.
Like the only elevator at all in all of Westeros, probably. Like, this is probably the only, like, there's not many elevators at this time, probably only to get up into the wall. Like, this is the only situation where you're going to be like, like this awkward elevator ride. You know, like this is like the only time you can get it in
we
this
already
show.
have our rules about like talking in elevators, and our rides are relatively quick. This is like a 15-minute elevator ride to the top. You know,
how long does that take?
I don't know. It can't be short.
Did he just really sit there? They both just sat there after that question for like 10 minutes, just like, yeah, okay, she just wants to fuck, and like, yo, or like, you know, just the whole way up, just awkward.
No, yeah, and maybe I'm misreading that, but like from what we know about Melisandre and what we know about Jon, I don't know how much more loaded that question could have been. I think that if she'd already shifted her sights to him being the prince who was promised, this isn't the question she asks. You know what I'm saying? Like,
because what vision would she have that would be like, oh, the prince who was promised is not a virgin, and that's how you'll prove it.
Fuck. You know, like, that's the case. I don't know. Regardless, when they get to this top, Stannis explains that he intends to retake the north from Lord Roose Bolton, but he needs an army and desires the free folk to fight for him, which clarifies why exactly Stannis just decided to ride north of the wall. You know, I remember being kind of like, why the fuck did he do that? Like, what was his goal here? And it was this, to recruit the free folk in the fight for him, which is dumb as fuck.
I mean, for free. You know, he didn't have to pay. Like, he didn't have to take a loan out from the bank to pay an army or do it. He was just like, well, if I just take this, I'll get a big army for free. But then what he doesn't realize is, like, they don't give a fuck about him at all. Like, it's like, you gotta have some purpose to fight for. You know,
he took the wrong lesson from them uniting under Mance Rayder. You know, he's like, oh, that means they can organize. No, it means they can organize under Mance Rayder. It doesn't mean they can organize under anybody. But what he wants, Stannis, he wants Jon to convince Mance to bend the knee and have the wildlings fight for him. In exchange, he would set them free and give them their own land within Westeros. And Jon's like, yeah, I'll try, man, but there's almost no fucking way that happens.
He's like, good luck with that one.
Yeah. And the next two scenes are 1-2 on the episode, whichever way you want to put it. But Jon relays this message to Mance, telling him that Stannis, well, he doesn't even tell him. Mance has already gathered that that's what he wants, you know? Yeah. He's just been chilling down there, and he's like, you can tell him to fuck himself, basically, you know? And this is, if this isn't my favorite scene, the next one's my favorite scene.
It's mine. I chose the conversation, and I'll go with the next one they had. Yeah. Because, I mean, I knew it was coming. You know, I knew it was coming. I'm just like, man, they are building this up so well. Like, the suspense that slowly builds. I guess more of like when the conversation's done, the suspense really starts to build. And like the music that's playing, like Mance starts to look like a little afraid. But I just like the conversation they had. And Mance being like,
great convo. And it's like, extremely formative on Jon. You know, when it comes to this episode, I went Jon Snow as my character, Ciarán Hinds as Mance Rayder for my performance.
Okay, we just flipped everything pretty much, because I went with Mance as the character and Kit Harington for the performance. And I guess you're right. Yeah, Mance did. I mean, maybe he does have the performance there, and this is got last one. I mean,
like Kit. But I don't know. Kit puts on one hell of a show here. This is an incredibly acted sequence, and I know that we've kept saying this every season, every time. He just kind of keeps elevating and seeping deeper and deeper into that role and feeling like he fits there. And this is, you know, I think that his scenes with Ciarán Hinds, like, you can see that it's just these two can click. You know, they have a mode they can get into where they both thrive in scenes together. But this is one of those ones. Like, this was fucking incredible. I went with a line from this scene. Them talking here, whenever Jon's like, and you'll bet you won't bend the knee to protect your pride, and Mance goes, pride, fuck my pride. I was like, fuck yeah. He goes, that's not what this is about.
Yeah,
I was like, you are a
so many
fucking
lines
G.
here. Yeah,
You know?
he was just spitting here. Like there was one, I forgot the verbiage exactly, but it was like if you don't see why I won't enlist my army to fight for Stannis, then I there's no point in explaining it to you. And I'm like, man, like he's just delivering these lines. But the line I chose
what's
from
incredible too is John. You know, John. He says that he thinks he's making a mistake, and he does. But the reason he's fighting for this is because he wants to ally with the wildlings and knows Mance Rayder's the man who can make that happen. If they don't have Mance Rayder, and on the flip side, Mance Rayder is comfortable. I think Mance Rayder is comfortable dying because he knows John has the capability to do it.
Oh,
you know, like I think he's confident that he can die and that the wildlings won't die out. Like I think he knows John will do everything he can to protect them.
Yeah,
and bring them together, sort of.
I didn't think about that because I mean I was just thinking about how like the wildlings would see him if he did bend the knee. Like that was the thing I was thinking of.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Like if the wildlings see him bend the knee, then they probably like won't fight for Stannis anyways. Like I don't know. Like I feel like even if Mance gives up and he's like, whatever. Like
they'd be like, well then fucking never mind. We don't follow this guy.
Yeah, like no. Like yeah, this isn't what we want. But the line I chose was the last line that Mance said to John. I think it was the last thing he said before he walked out the door. He's like, yeah, you're making a big mistake. And he says, the freedom to make my own mistakes is all I ever wanted.
Yeah.
And you could kind of see, like, as John's, like, walking out the door, like, just the facial acting that, what's his...
Kit Harington. Ciaran Hinds.
Ciaran Hinds. Yeah, like, I don't know. He was doing a great job this episode. I'm glad he's getting a nod there.
Yeah, it's his only one. It's his only... Yeah. So you went with Kit Harington, though?
Yeah, I think I'll have to stick with him.
Then that
he got a character and a performance.
Yeah, that gives Kit Harington his 6th performance nod, which locks him in at the 5 spot, right below Michelle Fairley with 7 performance nods. So Kit Harington's on his way. But Ciaran Hinds secures his 1st and his only, as he will not be returning.
I mean, in the books, this wasn't Mance that died here, actually. It was I think like the Lord of Bones, something like that.
Oh yeah, the Lord of Bones. We've met the Lord of Bones.
Yeah, in the books, it was the Lord of Bones, but some magic was being used to make him look like Mance. And then everyone thought that Mance died. Melisandre apparently knew, and then like they waited to tell John. I don't know. It's like a weird one memory I have from the books was that this was like a little switcheroo thing here that they did. But yeah, in this one, this is actually Mance here. No question about this one.
Yeah, no, and it being actually Mance gives the next scene, my favorite scene, all the weight in the world. On the night of his execution, Mance stands before Stannis, and although he cannot bend the knee, he offers him luck in the wars to come. And Mance is led to the stake where Melisandre lights the pyre, and Mance slowly begins to feel the agonizing pain of fire. You know, whenever he's talking to John in there, and he's like, what'll they do? And he's like, burn you alive. He's like, whoa.
Bad way to go.
Yeah,
like, beheading, or what was the other? Or hanging. Yeah, beheading, hanging. He's like, I'll burn you alive. And he was like, oh, fuck. He was like,
scorched
wait a
and
minute.
Screaming, that is not the way I want my people to remember me. And that
gave him his one wish. Yeah, gave him his if there was a dying wish, that was probably it.
And just to look this scene actually brought me to tears, which kind of astonished me because we're not all that attached to Mance, but it's more of like what he represents to everybody who we care about. Like watching Tormund. Like Tormund gets emotional. Like he starts like the way he kind of he can't. He wants to do
he's
something. Kind of fidgeting, and he's
feels like something needs to be done, but he knows he can't do anything about it. And he's just like, what the fuck?
It's hard to watch. But unable to suffer any longer, John turns and storms off. Others turn away from the scene as well. Gilly looks away. Shireen closes her eyes. And it was just another... I love the scenes where you are watching the morality of our characters play out in their observation of things. You know, it reminded...
Stannis' wife's name?
I can't remember.
Her just smiling the whole time. Like
all the while, right next to her, Shireen's like closing her eyes, you know?
Oh my God. Yeah, just seeing you're right. Like it did just pan to everyone around there. And like that's no words are spoken. But...
You know, for a lot of people, this is a first witnessing of somebody burning alive, you know, like obviously Stannis' army has seen this time and time again. I don't know about Shireen, like how much has she been locked away?
Probably not. Yeah, I'd say this is probably...
She can like hear it, I feel like, a lot of the times when it's happening on the beach, but
Eesh.
But yeah, Gilly certainly has never seen this, you know. She's horrified. She doesn't even know Mance, but she's like, oh fuck, you know, like this is just brutal to watch happen. But just as Mance begins to give in and start screaming a little bit, an arrow pierces his chest. Everyone turns to see Jon Snow, giving the man he respected a easier and honorable death. And Mance dies before he feels the agony of the flames. Jon turns and walks off, not giving a fuck what anyone else has to say. And that's why Jon secures my favorite character of the episode, giving him 7 nods thus far, tying him with Daenerys.
Ooh, that's kind of nice. Nice there.
They are tied for 3rd now.
Yeah, he almost got it for me as well. I almost gave Jon the character nod, but I'm like, nah, this is Man's last chance here, and this was... I feel you. I had to give him something, but I feel like he, I don't know, kind of deserved both the performance and character here, but like
Jon and Dany tied for 3rd at 7, behind Tyrion with 9 and Oberyn Martell with 10.
Let's fucking go! Oberyn's still the king.
Still the king. But that does conclude this episode of Game of Thrones. How are we feeling about it? It's one of those ones where, you know, I wasn't the highest on it coming into it, but the more we talked about it, the more I saw its merit, and the more I kind of felt like, this one did kind of, it did what it needed to do, even if I didn't have the best time watching it, you know? How are we feeling?
Planted the seeds well, and the ending was definitely, you know, made up for, I guess, a lot of the earlier parts in the episode, enjoyment-wise. But like the Varys and Tyrion scene, I thought was hilarious and really enjoyable. But every other scene just kind of was like a check-in and kind of like, all right, now here's where the story starts this season, and you'll see where it goes eventually. But nothing too substantial. But I mean, I feel like I was trying to think of like other season premieres, as to like what happened, like season 4 premiere, Two Swords. I was trying to remember just like what happened that episode, and if they're like, if all the premieres are somewhat similar to this.
They are for the most part, you know. Season 4 premiere was the one that kind of kicked off with Tywin melting down ice and then giving the swords to Jaime and Joffrey. But beyond that, I don't remember much of what happened in the season 4 premiere. Nor do I in many of the other premieres at all. So like, that's the thing, is that I think this did exactly what a premiere is supposed to do. But sometimes that's just not, you know, you get excited, you get attached to the, whoa, this guy just killed this guy. Whoa, this guy's just doing this. Wow, the deception, the betrayal, everything. This one didn't have much of that. It was mostly just planting seeds, and it was good in that regard, though. So enjoyment-wise, I think I'm coming away floor 8.5. I think.
Yeah, that's probably about where I'm at. 8.5, like not really a 9, maybe like 8.75 would be like the probably like kind of the highest I'd give it.
Nice
kind of maybe in there.
But no, I'm comfortable going 8.5. Just starting low and giving the season room to grow. I think that's
Yeah.
Because it certainly will. I know for a fact it has at least one 10 out of 10. That's a guarantee in season 5. At least enjoyment wise. Critically for this episode, this is a pretty well done episode. I didn't think it was like mind-bogglingly good looking or anything. Like I thought it was a solid looking episode of television. It was really well performed, fairly well written. Want to give D&D some respect for that. You know, we shit on them a lot when they do bad, but I feel like when they do good, we don't give them much credit. But this did pretty good.
See, maybe just kind of on like a similar vein as like enjoying, like kind of around that 8.5.
Yeah, 8.75. I'll give it a little bump up. You know, the performances were that good. I could give it a little bit of a boost.
Yeah, because let's see, what would that put on the? I mean, that puts it on the same level as the season 4 premiere critically. If we give it an 8.75, trying to look for others that are also 8.75. A lot of 8.25s, a lot of 8.5s. Another 8.75 critically would be The Pointy End in season 1, episode 8. Would be the only other 8.75 we have, but I feel like it's
I'm cool with that.
It's there, which would average it out to an 8.67 or an 8.7, which
87%. That's a pretty good fucking episode of television there, if I had to say so myself.
Yeah, room to grow this season, but they definitely planted all the seeds, and I don't know, like, I think the best example is just kind of like Tyrion and Varys. Like, they just had a simple conversation, but they're saying, wouldn't you like to join Daenerys Targaryen and put her on the Iron Throne? Like, that's nothing happened at all, but it was just a conversation, and now you know that they're on their way to meet Daenerys, and you'll check in with that the whole season. So I think that's kind of what this episode was, and what a season premiere should be anyways. But yeah, a little room to grow this season, and we shall, I believe. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. This season is pretty good. We're in the golden age of Thrones right now.
We've reached that point, to be sure. But yeah, it's a fun season to look forward to. All sorts of crazy shit coming. You know, Hard Home. Jaime and Bronn will go to Dorne and go undercover and try and rescue Myrcella. You know, that whole thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Daenerys will be carried from the fighting pits by her dragon when the Sons of the Harpy ambush them. Is that the
first time she rides Drogon?
Yes, yeah, that'll happen this season.
Yeah, that is the first. Yeah, I was trying to think if it has happened before, but I don't think she has.
No, because she doesn't have any control over it. He just like flies away and drops her in the middle of the Dothraki grasslands.
Actually, that's actually what happened. That's my god! Wow, yeah.
Because season 6 is basically spent with her, the Dothraki finding her and being like, "You belong to the Dosh Khaleen," you know, like the former Khals wives all blew out up at the Khalasar, so you got to come with us.
Wow. Oh my god.
Daenerys' story kind of we're getting to the point where it's really, really escalating. You know, like I know that she's been on like a meteoric rise, sort of. She hasn't, and this is kind of absurd to say because she's faced plenty of turmoil in a broad sense. You know, with her brother and first getting to the Dothraki, but since then it's been a relatively easy ride. Daenerys has had.
Yeah.
The Sons of the Harpy are the first time I feel like she's been posed with like a really true threat. So it's getting there. We're getting to the beef of her story too. So I'm excited. Going to be a good fucking season. But with that, we will conclude this episode of Winter is Blooming. If you would, head to patreon.com/PennyBloomPod, where you'll find over 50 hours of exclusive content. For $3 a month, you can hear us talk about shit. Our exclusive audio podcasts over there on patreon.com/PennyBloomPodcast. We've also got a $1.50 tier where I put out written content, and I appreciate everyone who signed up over there. Yeah, so you can support this podcast financially over there. which is huge because it costs me money, and I don't make any off of it unless it's over there. So that's a big help. Head to Twitter, follow at Penny Bloom Pod, follow on Instagram at Penny Bloom Podcast. Remember to leave a 5-star rate and review wherever it is you might be listening. It is a huge help. And remember to download episodes. We've been doing really good the last couple months. August is on its way to being another great month, and I'm so excited about that. We got a lot of shit in the pipeline for us the next several weeks. Our top 100 favorite movies is going on right now. We've got parts 3 and 4 on this Wednesday. That's the 70s and the 80s and the 70s. Am I right?
It's the
70s and the 60s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
70s, 60s.
That's the math.
Mm-hmm.
We got the 70s and the 60s in our top 100 this week, parts 3 and 4. Very, very excited for that. We're just talking nothing but movies we love, and that's been so much fun. I'm having a great time with that on Wednesday. And then on Friday, we continue our comic book movie journey through film with X-Men The Last Stand. So, certainly a movie that we are going to be discussing. But yeah, and even so, you know, we said this is the weaker episode of Game of Thrones. We got a weaker movie on Friday, but we got nothing but great movies in the middle, and all of that stuff was made by incredibly talented actors, actresses, and writers, all of which you should be supporting in their struggle against the studios. SAG-AFTRA and WGA strikes continue as studios refuse to return to the table and give them what they seek, which is basically just being paid fairly. So, until the day that is done, we will continue to boost that at the end of every episode. So remember to support SAG-AFTRA and WGA. Stand in solidarity with them, if you will. Yeah, with that, I was Colton Robertson. I was joined by Joseph George. Thank you very much, homie.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Oh, and it's always a pleasure to have you. And remember, peace, love, and bloom, and the freedom to make my own mistakes is all I've ever wanted.